rematch. Can't have you here and not talk about AJ, unfortunately, Eddie. So is that going back to looking at AJ potentially as that next fight in there?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, look, I think it's a great fight. I mean, firstly, Joe Parker is on an incredible run.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's beaten Wilder when no one really wanted to fight him. He's beaten Zhang when he was like the bogeyman, and he's just beaten Bakoli, although, you know, on short notice. I mean, that was a dangerous fight to take. So
Absolutely.
I love Joe. I think he deserves an opportunity. Joe against Dubois, Joe against Usyk, Joe against AJ. They're all great fights. I think for AJ, you know, this is the closing chapter, and we've got to get it right. I mean, look, he's not going to be able to punch now for another 6 weeks or so. So Dubois and Fury, of course, are probably the bigger challenges for him at this moment in his career. But Parker fight's a dangerous fight for anybody. And
It'd be
AJ,
a different fight to the Cardi fight.
yeah, I mean, look, we beat him once, but that was a unification. That was a long time ago, and Joe's on great form, and AJ's coming off a defeat.
Is it just me, or did Eddie Hearn in that interview with TalkSport sound a little bit like, you know, he wasn't too keen on the idea of Anthony Joshua fighting Joseph Parker? Certainly if there's no world title implications. Did it not sound like that? Before I get on into this video and talk further on the subject, have a quick look there on screen. So, up until April the 7th, right, the Zone are doing 30% off annual membership, whether it's monthly or whether it's a pay up front. That is to UK and US customers respectively. That is coinciding, by the way, with April the 1st. What's on April the 1st? No April Fool's joke. Frank Warren, that's the date he takes over. Well, that's the date he moves over, I should really be saying, to the Zone. Joyce Hergovich, Kakache Wood, Taylor Usman, Alan Fisher, amongst others, Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn. So there's a lot of good stuff happening on the Zone between now and then. Link will be in the description if you want to go and help your boy out. It will be pinned in the comment section as well. Now, let's talk about Eddie Hearn and his comments there on Anthony Joshua's next move. So, yeah, he's mentioned in the past couple of days that Anthony Joshua has an injury. He hasn't fully elaborated on what it is. He just said, and as you obviously heard at the start of the video, Anthony Joshua now can't punch with that injury. Okay, that's fine. That's fair enough. But what is it? Is it a hand injury? To me, look, if they're not disclosing it, maybe it's a little bit worse than we think. Again, I could be making too much into that, but when you hear of fighters being injured with whatever, they have to disclose it, especially if there's no opponent lined up. It's like, my shoulder is a little bit messed up, or, my left hand, I can't spar with it. So, things like that. They kind of, if there's no immediate fight or they're not getting ready for a fight, they tend to kind of just not really give a you-know-what and go ahead with it. So that makes me wonder, is there something in the pipeline that's going to happen after the summer, or is it just, I don't know. But obviously Frank Warren admitted that when Daniel Dubois faces Alexander Usyk, we obviously haven't got an announcement or anything like that on the fight yet, but we kind of know that's pretty much what they're going to do. He mentioned the fact that it'll be for the 4 belts. So Daniel Dubois versus Alexander Usyk 2, that will be for 4 belts. It'll be undisputed, whether it's in Riyadh, whether it's in Wembley, it'll be for undisputed. That then leaves Joseph Parker as the mandatory challenger. Now, Frank Warren did state that Joseph Parker will be next in line to fight the winner. If it's Alexander Usyk, I would expect Alexander Usyk to vacate. I would expect him to do it in similar fashion to how he did with the IBF. There you go, Joseph Parker, I gift you, as he said, Joseph Parker, I gift you belt. Something like that. You can imagine Alexander Usyk doing it like that, because he said himself that his last fight is going to be a bit of a gimmick fight, so he's not going to go ahead. I'd love it if he did. It'd be flipping brilliant. What a way to go out, huh? Be a great way to go out with the sport. But I suspect he won't do it like that if he wins. Now, if it's Dubois, different story. I think he would probably fight Joseph Parker next. We should have already had that fight. We didn't, and we may still yet see it. Who knows? But Parker is next in line. Frank Warren has admitted the WBO mandatory comes first after this fight. So there's obviously something in place. There will be a fight between Joseph Parker and whoever for either for the title as a mandatory, or either Joseph Parker will just get elevated the full champion, one or the other. That then leaves the question, who does Joseph Parker fight? Because as interim champion, he's not actually obliged, he's not obligated to take any necessarily very difficult fights. And we've seen with WBO interim champions before, Mr. Joe Joyce, how that can go, but so badly wrong for you if you pick the wrong opponent, if you pick someone who's, I give full credit to people like Joe Joyce for doing that while they have a guaranteed title shot. Full credit. They're not obliged to, though. And when they do and they lose, you kind of look and you say, well, that was always likely to happen. Might not have necessarily been picking you to lose the fight, but against someone that dangerous, there's always a risk that happens. Now, with Joseph Parker, when they mentioned a potential interim fight, Frank Warren immediately, oh yeah, he's one of our guys, he'll get an interim fight, this, that and the other. That's all good. That's all well and good. Happy days. As soon as they mentioned Anthony Joshua, Eddie Hearn, yeah, well, we'll see. We're coming to the end of his career, so Eddie Hearn is not trying to, gaslight or anything like that. He knows exactly that. And Anthony Joshua himself knows. He's even said it. He's in the twilight stage of his career. He's not sticking around much longer. The two names he mentioned, the Dubois rematch and Tyson Fury. Now, the Dubois rematch, I don't really get, because if Dubois is going in to fight Alexander Usyk and he loses, is the rematch still an idea? Is it still something you'd look to go ahead and do? Because you got to bear in mind, if he loses, then he won't have a belt. Now, if he beats Alexander Usyk, who's to say there won't be I know, I hate the word, but rematch is the R word. Again, there's two R words, robbery and rematch. Who's to say there won't be a rematch with Usyk and Dubois? Now, I suspect Usyk, if he's one fight out the door, he probably won't take that. But should Anthony Joshua go into a unification fight at that, not even for one title, because you'd imagine that there'd be more titles on the line. Maybe Dubois would win the WBO title to Joseph Parker anyway. Yes, it would be a massive fight, and you can tell that that's really what Eddie Hearn is trying to do with Anthony Joshua. He's trying to just squeeze that little bit of payday left in him. And I guess with Eddie Hearn, he thinks, one, Joseph Parker's a risky fight, and two, it's probably not going to pay near as much as a Dubois fight or a Tyson Fury fight. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't think Tyson Fury's retired. I think the majority of people watching don't think he's retired. And I think as well, if push came to shove, if a gun was put to Joshua's head and they said, what would you rather? Shot a world title again for number 3 or Tyson Fury? He'd say Tyson Fury. I think at this stage now, being 3-time heavyweight champion, I think that has been and gone. That ship has sailed. And I think now, really, Anthony Joshua is sticking around for that Tyson Fury fight. And I think there's a potential we might get it. Fury says he's retired. Well, we've heard that before. The old boy who cried wolf. That's why not many people believed him. Very few people believed him. When he pulled out of the Usyk fight, or pushed the Usyk fight back about this time, February last year, thereabouts. Because, a tree is known by his fruits. He's retired before. He said he's been injured before. So what's the all likelihood we're going to believe you this time? Sort of way. So I think the most likely fight that Eddie Hearn mentioned is probably Tyson Fury. But it is interesting, they're mentioning Joseph Parker, but yeah, we'll look at it, we'll see. I suspect Eddie Hearn looks at Joseph Parker and thinks, one, you're not the same fighter who fought us all those years ago. Joshua definitely ain't the same fighter who fought you at the Principality Stadium, and they probably don't fancy that fight, truth be told, unless there is a world title on the line, which it seems inevitably there won't be, given what Frank Warren has said. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me know yours in the comment section below. It looks like Anthony Joshua, we don't know, might not be fighting Joseph Parker after all. By the way Eddie Hearn is sounding, I would say it's unlikely. Let me know your thoughts. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, all that good stuff, and until next time, peace.